I'm not sure. Hi, this is Katie, and I wanted to talk to you, but I need some light. There we go. Okay, so let me make this brighter. There I am. Okay. One of my videos got messed up by the stalker. It was one of the trio of videos that I made right after the attacks, telling you a little bit about the backstory. And it's true, I was a little bit upset at that time, so I thought I would just re-record this little part of the video, which is the middle one. It's the video number 2, the one where at the first video I start from the beginning and go to when I'm watching the video that the girl left me on my phone, and it says at the end, I noticed that C was hiding under a blanket, because remember, for some reason they're obsessed with having the same kind of bed coverings as me. So they have the same yellow gold bedspread. They have the same quilts that my daughters had. I think they actually have one of my daughter's quilts from storage. And they have the same blanket that I have that I bought for my mom first. Well, I actually bought it in 2015, and it was one of the blankets that got me through being homeless, because I was homeless for a short period of time. And just so you know, I'm not crazy though. It was more like an economic thing, and it was short-lived, thank goodness. But anyway, I was homeless for a short time, and it got me through being homeless really well. It's called the Big One from Kohl's, and it's a really great blanket. Anyway, so I have that, and she has the same blanket in the same print that I do, because it comes in like 15 different prints, which is really odd. So when I say that she's trying to imitate my apartment, I'm not joking. She really is trying to imitate my apartment. Everything is not only the same, but it's in the same place. And she even had S make her things that were identical to mine that she couldn't find, like at IKEA or Target or wherever, because they were already out of date. So that's upsetting. But anyway, the point is that, so underneath at the end of the video, for a brief second, which I don't know if it shows on yours, you'd have to watch frame by frame and see what you think, but on mine it was very clear that C was like underneath the Kohl's blanket on the floor. And I thought that was kind of odd, and it made me think, because I was like, well, does that mean that he's gonna, because the first thing you do after an attack is try to figure out where did they come from, right? So I was like, did they come in the door? Were they under the table? Did they come out of the cupboards? Were they in the cabinets? Were they hiding in the bathroom? I mean, you look around and you try to think, right? Well, I like textiles. My view is always like, if you have a lot of textiles, like sheets, towels, blankets, pillows, comforters, things like that, then you are wealthy, kind of like ancient Sanders for wealth I have. But anyway, if you have those, then you're pretty wealthy and you're doing okay. If you have more than one, like more than 2 sets of sheets, or more than one cover for each bed, if you can rotate things, that means that you're doing great. And they've always been really important to me too. So I notice when they're important to people, and evidently they also really matter to this girl. So, what was I going to say? Oh, so he's underneath the blanket, right? And it was upsetting me because when I lived in my old house, I lived next door to a guy, and he had a little girl that was a little younger than mine, and my two, and I never really found out. Someone had a duplicate apartment or house of mine then, too. But I never really found out who. I heard different rumors, like that there was sort of a viewing spot at the First Baptist Church in that city, and that there was other things going on around, like my ways of doing things that were sort of interest to people. But I always put that down to jealousy, because I had a great time raising my kids, and I didn't really make very many mistakes when they were little, and I really tried hard to do everything as well as possible for their sakes, because they have like 100 years on the planet. And obviously, although my time was more truncated than I thought, sadly, but I really, wanted them to be able to be of use to everyone for their whole 100 years on the planet. And that takes a lot of work, as y'all know. So, anyway, so I just didn't have time to pay attention to what people thought of me back then. And so I'm not saying this is the first duplicate apartment or even the worst duplicate apartment, but for me it's the weirdest, because I'm not connected to any kind of thing like that now. So I don't have to live to the standards of a school teacher unless I want to. I don't have to live to the standards of a parent unless I want to. And I don't feel like the way I live should be critiqued by people, although I'm having trouble getting over the ransacking for sure. But, I don't think that it should matter to people that much that I live how I live. Like, I live well. I live to a good standard for myself, and I keep my own standards of like good or bad behavior, and I don't really expect to have to answer to people at this point because I don't have, excuse me, professional standards to live up to. Although I have 2 teachers as children, and so I do try to live up to those standards for their sake. It's not always, and on YouTube my videos are always for people over 18. Okay. What else? Oh, so in that video he's hiding under that blanket, which is weird in the first place because it made me jump and run and look at my blanket because they literally put it on my phone, and I thought I was like, what is this? Because I had just woken up. And so I looked over and my blanket was on the floor because they try to keep everything like in the same place as it is in my apartment. Oh, and like I said, they even have people construct things like the table and chairs and stuff that they couldn't find. And so it's really upsetting because it's not only the same stuff, but at the beginning of this, it was in the same place until they got spooked. And then they did things like they went out and bought a TV real quick, and they bought a PlayStation. They bought some other things that also showed up on the videos. So they started differentiating a little bit between my apartment and their apartment. But prior to that, before I got my new phone, which I did to try to get away from them, and a new phone number, all of the stuff in the apartment was exactly the same, which is weird. So that was the main thing I was trying to get across to you in the second video, the middle video. So the other things, I don't know if I mentioned in the video that I saw, was that obviously she's performing a medical procedure on someone at the end of the video. If you go frame by frame, you can clearly see it. I saw an extended version of this video, the one that I posted for you. I got 2 versions of it. So the extended one had the medical procedure in it, and that one I don't think I shared with y'all because it's kind of gross, but you can see it if you watch parts of the one that I posted in the kind of like smaller version, but you have to look close, and I don't really want to explain it to y'all very much. But as I said, I'm not against abortions. I believe that all women should be able to seek any kind of medical care that they want to seek. For me, they are not correct because I believe in the sanctity of life for myself, but I don't tell anyone else how to think, and I would never vote against it. So I just want to make that clear. If guys could get them, I don't think there would even be a question about whether they were legal or not at this point. But I don't really think that they're desirable. I don't think that they're something that I would seek out for myself. I don't really believe that that's what I consider to be the path that I would like for, people I love to take necessarily, but I do think it's what every woman should be able to do. So I'm not really sure why she's trying to shove them down my throat because I don't want them, but she seems to be like bombarding me with them, off and on, even to this day. So this is like a month after the attacks happened. So, I mean, that's a lot, y'all. I don't need to see that many at all. What else? Oh, and I've never told my daughters how to think. They're pretty much more liberal than I am in every respect, and I don't really wish to change that about them in any way. I'm happy with how they feel about whatever they want to think. I don't really care how people think around me. I just like to be able to have my own opinions as well. What else? So that was part of it. The medical procedure was really upsetting. I remember at that time I hadn't seen that video that the guy had left on my camera, my actual digital camera, showing their behavior while I was unconscious. I didn't see any of that then. There was like a tape of a guy rolling out from under. Once I went down, the guy came out around the corner of the house, the apartment here, my little half wall, sorry, right there. So upsetting. And the guy rolled out. He had already grabbed the camera from over my unconscious body. He grabbed the camera from off of the counter. I don't know why I had 2 things recording that day, but I'm so glad that I did. And so he grabbed it, and he then went under the table. Now, I don't know if he's trying to advertise something These guys are always trying to poorly advertise something. It's really upsetting. But anyway, he rolled out from under the table and got up and had sex with the other guy that knocked me down right there while I was lying there. And I was aware of some of it, okay? But I wasn't quite aware of what was going on. But there were 3 videos on my camera, my digital camera, and one of them showed very clearly them. It's a 6-minute segment on my camera. I don't know why my camera only records in 6-minute segments, but the first segment was the attack. The second segment was him coming out from underneath the table. The third segment was them clearly having sex. And then the fourth, fifth, and sixth segments were just waiting for me to like respond in some way. Were me, being totally drugged and getting up and coming over and sitting down and just starting to talk to Snowman, which is crazy. But anyway, so the guy that was in the video is, allegedly always, right, but a member of the family that used to live not next door to me, but across the street from them, the kitty cornered people. And the father-in-law is the guy that sort of ran this place. He moved in the week after I did, or soon after, like maybe the day after I did, I'm not sure. But he was very his family the guy was very obsessed with me. I didn't realize it at the time. I don't really know why he was so obsessed with me. It could have been because I was 1/4 black and a teacher, because there are several people in Texas that are against people of color teaching their children, which is upsetting. And it could be something like that. It could be that his wife went to high school with me, or one of his brother's wife went to high school with me, I guess. I mean, Texas is a small town, y'all. I'm sure you know that. And it's difficult for me to go anywhere and not see at least 10, 12 people I know. But these guys didn't like me. So it's odd that they kept showing up everywhere, because they really weren't people that I chose to be friendly with before. But anyway, so his relative is the one that attacked me. And the guy across the street's relative also attacked me, which is so weird because they were best friends back then, but their friendship kind of faded a little bit. And then they both moved before I did, because there's a real estate component to this too, because when I moved in, they were both there and they had just bought their house. All of our houses were just built, like brand new built. And evidently they had my house was built to studs, and then the thing fell through somehow. So we ended up getting it with a VA loan, and those people, I guess, wanted it because it was bigger. It was like 700 square feet bigger than one of their houses, and like a lot bigger than the other one. And although both those houses were precious little houses and they were great, but so they bought their houses. They couldn't buy my house, and I didn't know that. But a lot of things happened. Like I had plants get taken out of my ground and returned to Lowe's for store credit. I had, whenever I would go somewhere, there would be an animal that would get poisoned, which was kind of upsetting to me, especially. Like my friend in Al-Anon, my first meeting with my sponsor from there, her cat was poisoned. There was a cat that had a kidney removed in the street. There was a lot of, like, one of the guys threw a dog in front of a truck that was driven by the other guy, the 2 neighbors, right in front of my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter. And she was very upset. And what else? And I just miss seeing that myself, which I'm so glad I didn't see that, because that would have really upset me. I'm a very tender-hearted person, and I was a vegetarian for a long time. I can't really handle any kind of animal cruelty whatsoever. So, let me think. There's just a lot of my car was stolen in 2006, about 6 weeks after I purchased it, because they thought I was going to move in 2005, because they thought that since I was getting divorced, I wouldn't be able to afford my house. But because I have such a good education, as I've explained, I was able to walk into I had to go to school nights and weekends to be a teacher, right? So, the year that they were expecting me to sell my house and getting all excited about it, happy way, I was working as a substitute for like $100 a day and then taxes on top of that, right? And I was going to school Tuesday and Thursday nights and all day Saturday weekends for teaching. And I was really working hard, and I was able to walk into my daughter's school and get a job, so they didn't even have to change public schools. And I got to be a public school teacher, and I earned a good enough living to be able to afford my house for a while. So I didn't have to sell my house for like 15 years after we bought it. So that was a God thing. And but they weren't very happy because they thought I was going to sell in 2005 when I got divorced. And then they thought I was going to sell in 2012 when I got divorced again, and I didn't. And it was just kind of like constant basic harassment, I guess is what you call it. I didn't really understand that's what it was. My purse would get stolen and off of my counter in my kitchen, and it would end up in one of their yards or just over the fence of one of their yards. And it was just a real big mess, y'all. And it culminated, like I was saying about my cat, it culminated, my dog was stolen first twice because my daughter was taking her driver's test. It's so awful. My daughter was taking her driver's test in San Marcos, and I went with that. She was in her grandmother's car because she had a sedan. I have a huge SUV, and I was like, you probably don't want to have to parallel park that today. So she drove her grandma's Honda Accord, and I took the dog, and I went and sat because the dog likes to go in the car, or liked to go in the car, and so I went and sat in the parking lot, right, and waited for her to finish. And it's a little parking lot, really grassy and everything, and she came running out, and she's like, they need you to sign something. So I was like, okay, well, I'll come in just for a second. So I left the car, I left the doors locked, the car on, and the windows cracked, and I ran inside and signed my name and ran back out. The dog was gone. And I couldn't figure out what happened to her. My daughter was with me the whole time, and she's the only other one that has a key for my car. So I didn't know, but evidently one of those guys had followed us there and took the dog. And then she was gone for 30 days. My daughter cried the whole time. It was like any special event, like any kind of significant milestone, they tried to ruin these two guys, which is sad. Anyway, so my daughter cried for like 30 days, and I went and begged the Hays County Fire Department to put the word out. I looked at every dead animal, y'all. I looked everywhere. I had people scanning dead animals. I went to every vet's. I was scoured. I was out like from midnight till my kids woke up at like 4:30 in the morning. I was out like looking for her at night because she likes to, she's kind of scared of people. So if she's skulking around looking for food, it's usually going to be at night. And just, guessing. I've never made her do that, but I mean, that was my best guess. So we went out walking and tried to find her at night. I did. My daughter didn't go with me. And then, I just did everything I could for a month. And my daughter was just so, so sad. So I went to the Hays County Fire Department. Sorry. And I asked them, can you please beg for her to come home? Because I know she's half Rottweiler, half German Shepherd. She's a really good dog, and she's a female. And they're so protective of their people. So I was like, I know that she didn't run away because she wanted to. I know that she's out there and someone has her. So you need to find her and get her back. Someone has her. They know that she's a special dog, right? And she also had a little bit Australian Shepherd in her. And she came back the next day. She was back in my front yard. My mother-in-law called me and she said, your dog's in your front yard. And I was like, what? And she said, well, your dog's in the front yard. So evidently she was in one of their houses in the garage or whatever. And she hadn't been fed for like 30 days, so much. She'd lost like 7 pounds or 8 pounds, which she was 43 pounds. So that's a lot of weight for her. And it was really bad. But she was alive and she did come back to me, right? Well, then in 2014, I guess, they took my other dog, and this time they killed her. So I had to go to the animal shelter and identify her, and she was dead in in the cell thing that they have, and I had to go and identify her that way. And she was lying there. She'd been either gassed or poisoned and then put for me to find right before I got there because she was still warm and everything. But anyway, that's just typical, harassment and stalking. I don't know why they were doing that. I got Christmas pictures taken of my kids one year, and they ended up like really ruined because that guy had gone in ahead of me and said something awful. I don't know what all people would say about me. It was so funny, but it just kind of like that. And so I moved in 2015 because it was time to move. We'd had the second divorce, and part of the divorce settlement that time was that the house would be sold. And so I had 6 months to sell the house, but because it was, a good time of year, it was like March, and I thought, well, why am I holding on to it when I should really be selling it for the top price? Because it's, the middle of the spring, and this is when people are trying to look for houses. And it got sold right away. It sold in 24 hours for a good cash offer for more than we were asked for it. And it was a really good boon for all of us and the right thing to do. And they're a nice family, and they just sold it themselves for twice as much as they paid for it. And when that happened, because I live here, all of that started up again here in Nacogdoches with this guy that's the father-in-law of the guy that was living kitty corner to me. And he had also evidently, the rumor was, I don't know if it's true or not, but the rumor was that he had wanted to buy my house way back in 2005 because he was the grandpa of these kids, And they had kids my kids' age, sort of a little younger, but a boy and a girl, I think, but we didn't really play with them at all. I told my kids not after the dog thing with the truck. I was like, don't try to go over there. Really, I don't know what's going on with them, but that's not right to do that right in front of kids. So something's wrong. And I'm not really sure what their story is. I'm sure they have a whole story too. But anyway, the point is that we don't really know their kids. So I'm sure they're fine. But so that was difficult. All of that was difficult. And when the guy sold his house, he sold it for over $325,000 because my house was worth like half that, obviously, when I sold it. And he sold it for twice as much as I bought it for. Well, he sold it for a lot of money. Let's put it that way. I don't know how you want to look at it. Twice as much as I sold my house for, or 3 times as much as I paid for it in the first place. But whatever, it was a lot of money, and I'm happy for them because they were really good people. But that made this guy act crazy, and he started harassing me here. But even since I moved here, he'd always been following me around and like going places ahead of me and trying to kind of keep up with what I was doing. And I don't know. I'm an older woman, but I don't look like an older woman all the time. You've seen me look pretty old because you see me tired and dehydrated and sad and scared. But normally I don't look that old, and I don't, although older than I used to, and I don't seem my age because I have a young spirit. I'm a happy person, and I keep my spirits up. So I didn't really, as does he really. I mean, he doesn't seem his age either. But for whatever reason, people always tend to think that I need someone to take care of me, and I really don't. I'm a perfectly independent woman that's very happy, and it's just funny. So I hope that kind of explains it. I think that's what got cut out of the other video. I don't want to not put it in there because it's important that you understand. When I keep saying these people are here, what I mean is that the guy that lived next door to me, he was so obsessed with me that his relative actually ended up married to my niece. And he seems okay, I guess. They seem happy. And the guy's relative is also the one that attacked me. So this guy seemed to kind of, I don't know, he goes between trying to say that, like, before he used to say that he felt like, I don't know, my brother and I'm not sure what, but somehow he got the impression that he and I should be together, or that he should be taking care of me somehow. And I've never said that in my life or wanted that at all. And he would try to make that happen. And then on the other side of it, he tries to also, it seems, compare me to his wife or girlfriend, who is the woman, I think maybe the woman that pops up in the video sometimes in half face. That could be her, I'm not sure. But anyway, he tries to compare me to her or whatever. And I think part of like chipping my teeth was to make me less attractive. He tries to make me less attractive to people by putting me down. He tries to put me down, both of them, to different professional organizations and unions and forums and all kinds of things, y'all. And it's sad because most people, you'll probably never meet somebody like me in your life if you've never met me. And so it's really hard to believe that someone could put me down to that many people in a mass way, but they do try sometimes. I don't know why. So, like I said, my dad was a really special guy too, and people used to, he's literally had guys immolate themselves in front of him, and he's fully white. He's Danish and Irish, and my other grandma is Scottish, and my grandfather's black. So it's like very much redhead, white, and a little bit of African American in there, which I think is cool, but a lot of people don't think so. So my dad got a lot of pushback, and he's a very special guy. I can't really imagine anybody saying anything bad about him either, but I know people did, and I'm sure they say bad things about me too, but I try not to worry about it. I just wanted to fill you in on that because I got cut out of the second video, and it's important to me that you understand that. So, all those videos when I was talking about Walmart, DoorDash, and all those things, this is the middle video that I'm trying to replace because the stalker took what was like a 3 minute and 30-second video and made it into a 2 minute and 7-second video. And I don't know why they did that or what they cut out, but hopefully I've kind of filled you in on everything that you need to know. I can't really think of anything that could be causing this, and I don't know, like I said, who the money person is. I did get an email today from a family friend. It was supposed to be from a family friend. Oh, well, I can tell you, the guy that does the father-in-law here, he messes with the internet sometimes. And my mom died, right? The day after she died, because she'd made everybody promise not to tell me. I was looking at the time, but she made everybody promise not to tell me that I'm mixed. So I got a whole bunch of emails and phone calls and messages saying, guess what? You're 1/4 black, which I already do, but it's kind of a neat thing anyway. It's very special to me. So, then I got another email from it's hard to explain, my mom's, what do you call it? Cousin married a McAllister, like a McAllister in the San Antonio area, McAllister, a big family and all. And they were very happy. They had 2 kids, and I used to hang out with them a lot when I was little because they're my age, a little bit younger than me, actually. One's older, I think, one's younger. And their mom emailed me, texted me, and I was like, oh, hey. She's like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to change all the cities so that it's not really telling what she said, but she's like, I'm going to rent a house on the coast of Louisiana for the month of June. You should come visit if you're free for a weekend. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. No, that's not an example. She said, I'm going to rent a house in Cancun for the month, okay? And you should come and visit. And I was like, well, I could come down for a weekend. I'll have to think about it. That was in March. So then May rolled around, and I was like, hey, are you still doing the I'm feeling much better now. Are you still doing the whole house in wherever? So, because I would like to come visit you for like a day and spend the day and go to the beach with you and like, hang out and talk and then go back. Because she just had lost her husband recently and I had lost my mom. I thought we could talk. And so, and she's familiar with the programs that I'm in and stuff like that. So I knew it would be sort of a, compatible viewpoint on life. So she wrote me back and she said, I'm sorry, I can't deal with a hot coal right now. And I was like, I'm betting that's not her. I'm betting that's probably my stalker on my email on my router. Because I was already noticing that someone was duplicating my router and my modem and tunneling into my devices that way. Because I kept getting messages like that. Well, today I got a message from this family friend. and it said, "Hey, Daisy Cakes, I think you should move." And I'm like, that doesn't sound like her either, because all of a sudden it was like, "Hey, Daisy Cakes, I was thinking about what you said. It doesn't sound safe. I think you should move." Like some kind of ransom letter from a crazy person or something. And I was like, that's so weird, because I know she didn't write that. Very weird stuff going on. But I've already changed my phone number, and I've changed my email, and I've changed my modem. And I've already almost lost this new phone number to the stalker, because they already have my phone cloned. That's why I was getting all those weird videos on it, because I'm not taking those videos, y'all. And so I've almost already lost this new email to the stalker. And when you sign up to YouTube, you have to have a phone number, and that phone number was the only phone number I had to give them. So I'm going to have to get a new phone number soon anyway. Since I just got it, it's not terribly much of a bother, but it's kind of a bother because I don't like having to do these kinds of things all of a sudden. Plus, I've lost, I got some money from my mom, and I've lost maybe 40% of it to these people, because they insisted on doubling up on my DoorDash orders and duplicating my Amazon orders and going nuts on different things like that. So it's frustrating, but I thought I'd just leave this here and fill you in again on what happened, so that you understand the import of it to me. And then the stalker, the guy that lived next door to me, was out here parked in front of my apartment all weekend, this past weekend, and he came up and smoked in a smoking area that's like not even 2 feet away from my apartment, which I love having out there because I don't smoke myself, but I love smokers. I think that they're fun to talk to and very intellectual and everything. So I don't mind it. But anyway, that was kind of close for me to know he was right there, because he's already tried to come in. He's already come in and attacked me, actually. So, I mean, I was freaking out. And I think he might be the one that has that apartment, because I'm not sure though, because he actually was attached to my daughters. Like my daughters, he used to feel very kind of like I didn't have a husband, and I didn't need a husband at that time. I had a lot of father figures for them outside of the neighborhood and a couple in the neighborhood. But he felt very, very paternal and judgmental to them. So he would, if he felt like I was doing something wrong, like raising them wrong, he would make it clear that he was displeased, even though he didn't live there anymore. He lived with his parents, who were on the next block to the right. So anyway, so he felt very paternal towards them, and he felt very kind of like ownership to me. And when I went back in 2019 with a guy that I hired off of Craigslist, who I didn't even know, but I make friends fast. I was talking to him all the way there, so we kind of probably seemed like we knew each other. But he was like a 6 foot tall, blonde haired, green eyed Mexican guy, and he was really sweet. And we sat and talked. I bought him lunch for an hour and a half at the restaurant I used to work at in the city where I lived. And and the guy, my neighbor from 15 years ago, stood behind my chair so close that I could feel him, like smell his cologne and like hear his breathing, and like his belt buckle kept touching the back of my chair for an hour and a half without budging. Like his feet were touching the back of my chair. That's how close he was to me. And I don't know him that well. I haven't had very many significant conversations with him whatsoever. And I don't know why he lives here right now, or why he's at least participating in all these things, or why he wants to make it clear to me that he's parked right outside my window, or he might even be there now. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm just a woman, I just live places. I should be allowed to live free and not worry about these things. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that I don't have a husband right now, because I wouldn't want my husband to feel like he had to step into a conflict with people that are this unstable, because they don't end well. And it's sad because my brother knows him. Now I'm worried about my brother's safety, because see, I fired them from, I mean, I didn't realize they were doing that. I fired everybody in like a blanket email, like a blanket sign, a blanket email. And I did not really realize how many people were in my stuff. It's so awful. It's like, it's sad. It's like beggars at Lourdes or something. It's really sad because it's like you don't realize you could turn around and say shoo to one person and like 100 people run and you're like, where did they all come from and why were they all on my stuff? But I didn't know that they were all on my stuff or that I know some of them. And so anyway, I fired them from messing with my storage, and this guy got angry, and I fired them from messing with my DoorDash, and his relative got angry, and those two people attacked me. But I'm still not really sure what made, I'm not crying, that's the malware, sorry. I'm really not sure what made them do that. Like, I don't know what made them do that all of a sudden when nothing had, like, really, they hadn't even been in evidence, although they were definitely the ones sponging off of me. But it was very strange. So I think what happened was maybe my mom was paying them because they were kind of blackmailing her back in the day. And I think they were actually blackmailing her back in the day. It wasn't kind of. And I think that maybe my brother fired them also. And that's what was the catalyst for them coming up here. But I'm not sure. I started working with Snowman, and Snowman is a man, and he's very handsome and all. And so it could be that they're jealous of that. That seemed to be the right timing of it all. But it's irrational, so I'm not really sure you can really decide for someone else what they're thinking. But I just want to leave that with y'all so you'd understand some more things, because I don't want to have people think that I'm just sort of, oh, okay. So I did say I went to high school with the guy's brother's wife, right? Because that's important. Because my daughter went to Texas State after that, and this woman does a function that she was involved with for band, and so she worked with her a little bit, and she didn't have any trouble. So I know that there's no bad feelings, as far as I know, between that brother and the wife and my kids and me. So that's important. It seems to just be a rational dislike about money, probably. It's usually about something like that. Because I haven't had ever significant conversations with these people. The one guy, I asked him in 2000 to help me with my garage door lock, and the other guy, and I asked him, my daughter ran away, my eldest daughter that was kind of, spunky. She ran away in 2014, I guess, maybe 2013. And I asked everybody on the street, including them, if they knew where she was that night. But it wasn't more than like a 2-second conversation. And other than that, I've never talked to the guy. And the other guy, I had some back and forth conversations with him because I was really good friends with his first wife, who I really liked a lot. And their daughter played a lot with my kids. And when they got divorced, after that, I didn't really talk to him very much at all, especially after the dog thing, which happened while they were divorcing. His wife's puppy was out in the front yard, and the other guy lined up his truck in the street and waved at him to throw the dog down, and the guy just tossed the puppy in the street. It was a brat terrier, like 2-year-old brat terrier, not a puppy. And my daughter came around the corner because she was about to get in the car. For the first time, I was like, you can go to the car without me. Just stand there and don't get in it, and I'll be right there. And I was locking the door. And so she saw that. And the guy waved at him to go, said, go ahead. And he just ran and threw the dog in front of the car, right in front of his ex-wife. And my daughter was his future ex-wife. They were getting divorced. So it was more of the same, like I was saying, the whole Texas dad, thing. There are bad forums out there for Texas dads to intimidate ex-wives and things, and groups where they get together and do that kind of thing and stuff. And I don't know about those guys or if that's, something that they do, but they're the same tactics anyway that they used on me. And my ex-husband, though, didn't do that. So at least not mentally, yes, but not until after. It's hard to explain. Not that year, I'll say. Not in 2005, at least. So, but everybody has their own story in all this, and maybe some of that will start coming out. I don't know. Maybe I'll learn some things that I didn't know before. But like I said, I don't have any terrible bad feelings against my ex-husband or anyone right now. And I'm just hoping that all this stops and that I'm physically safe, because my teeth are doing so good, but who knows what they'll look like with the malware. But so far they look okay, and I feel like I came through it okay. And I got to take a shower. I took 3 showers this week, which is a miracle, because this whole month I have been pushing it to 1 a week because it's just terrifying for me. And I've gotten like a whole week of good sleep, which is really important, because this whole week has been like, it's been really hard. I sleep with my stuff hugged to me, and I almost don't even want to tell you that, because then people know where to find it. It's kind of frustrating, but anyway. And it's not the first violent crime that I've been through here in this apartment, but it was terrifying to turn around and see the face of the guy that I knew so clearly, And whether it was a relative of his or his, I don't know, but it was definitely that family. And the other guy obviously also was that other family. They're like David and Jonathan, basically. So I was kind of just shocked. But I know it wasn't that woman's husband that I went to high school with, because I don't think I went to high school with him. I'm not sure. But the woman I did. But I don't think it was her husband, because he actually showed up here too 3 weeks after the attack. When I put the stuff on YouTube, he showed up that weekend outside my window, looking in my window and stuff. And I haven't seen him in a long time. He hasn't changed that much. None of us really aged. There's something weird about the high school I went to in a small town outside of San Antonio, because all of us did not age very much at all. I'm sure if we looked at each other like really closely, we would see wrinkles and things. But I mean, it's the weirdest thing ever. Most of us didn't age, so he looks just the same, so I recognize him. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't really matter. I hope y'all are doing well, and I leave this here with you just to kind of explain that the whole thing about the blanket and everything probably sounded weird when I said it at the time, but that really was on the tape. And it did make me jump and go look and make sure he wasn't hiding under there. And I have taken out most of the hiding spots in my room, which I like to have some, but because you can store things underneath the tablecloths that are on the tables or whatever, and so it's nice for me, but it's also an easy place to hide. So I went ahead and fixed that so that there's not too many more hiding places anyway. But I love y'all, and I wish y'all the best, and I think of you every day and hope that you're doing well, all my daughters and my family and everything. And I don't know, it just reminds me so much how many women have stories like this that they should be telling, but they're not, and that's sad. So if you've had an experience like that and you want to share it with me in the comments, please go ahead. If you have had the experience of doing well in your divorce and having people, I don't know why that keeps happening. There's nothing here to cast a shadow like that. That's just malware probably. But like I said, I'm not shadow banned, y'all. And I wanted y'all to know that if you did do well in the divorce and you're a woman, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad. Texas tries to make sure that your kids have the standard of living that they needed, that they had before, so that their lives are only emotionally changed by the divorce is everyone's main goal. And my ex-husband worked really hard, and I worked really hard. The only problem was there were people watching that were resentful and vengeful and angry, and they didn't like it because they thought it boded badly for their divorces too. And I don't know about that. A lot of them didn't even get divorced, but they were just mad in general that I don't know. Some people think Texas divorce laws are kind of unfair. I honestly don't know enough about them to have an opinion. I just know that in my case, there was extenuating circumstances that meant that I needed to have the kids, and that I was lucky enough to be able to do that well and efficiently for their best, so that they ended up being great wives and mothers and successful people and teachers and everything today. So anyway, y'all have a great day, and I love y'all.